welcome back. This is the Jewish Road Podcast, and we are coming to a close. We have a couple days left here in our series called Hidden in Plain Sight, and this is day number 9. Welcome. And we're looking at why is it important for us to look at and to observe and take part in the Jewish High Holy Days. And we're doing that through the lens of the Days of Awe. There are 10 Days of Awe. They start at the beginning of the High Holy Days with Yom Teruah, or the Feast of Trumpets, and they go all the way to Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. And we want to look at this today at 2 parts. One is our sinfulness, and number 2 is our need for forgiveness and how God has made that a path for us. So, hey, you're over there, yes?
I'm here. I'm here.
All right. For a second, I forgot that you were there, and I was just going to keep going, but I thought, I'll give this guy a chance to.
Yeah. Okay. What are we doing?
Well, you're here for a podcast, the Jewish Road. Okay. So I want to talk about one thing here, just to start as a launching point. One of the things that takes place during the season, the Days of Awe, is there's a prayer. In fact, there's a lot of prayers, a ton of prayers. We love to pray, but there's one in particular that I think has always it's always struck me as important and comprehensive, and it's called Al Chet.
Yeah,
and Al Chet means
for the sin. Yeah, it means for the sin.
Yeah,
and this is what we are confessing and praying about.
Yeah, and so it really gives you a comprehensive list of all of the different pieces. And there's a back and forth between the leader and the congregation. And there some of these lines, and we'll have a link so that you can read this for yourself as well if you want to go to our blog. But it's for the sin which we've committed before you of our own will, and for the sin which we've committed before you by hardening our hearts. For the sin which we've committed before you unknowingly, and for the sin which we've committed before you openly or secretly. And it's going through all of these different ways we can sin.
And it's a long list. And, as I think about that, and I think about the trek that we're on for these 10 days of awe, and I think of our Jewish people, there's an agony to this as we are trying to find our way back to God. This is what, this time is about here. And, there is the fact that God has already made provision.
Yeah. And there's a line in here. It says, forgive us for our running to do evil and our limping to do good. But really, the closing statement in the Al Chet is, for all of these, O God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, and grant us atonement. And really, it is our sinfulness that necessitates the sacrifice.
Yeah.
And he has given us that atonement. And how has he done that?
Yeah. Well, we should talk. He has done that through his son, the Messiah, that he sent to Israel for the purpose of making a new covenant with them.
Yeah. And in this season, the Jewish people will often go through one story in particular, and it's Genesis 22.
Yeah. It's called the Akedah.
Yes.
And this is the story of the binding of Isaac, the story of Abraham and Isaac. And God tested Abraham, it says in Genesis 22, and said to him, take your son, your only son, and whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains that I will show you.
Yeah. And so they go on the trek, they go on this journey for 3 days, and there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot embedded in this.
Yeah, what is really interesting is on the 3rd day, Abraham lifted his eyes and he saw the place from afar, and he tells the ones who were there, who went with him, the servants, stay with the donkey, and the boy and I will go and worship, and we will come back to you.
We will come back.
We will come back to you. Now, Isaac had been dead really for 3 days, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a 3-day journey. And he says, we're going to go worship, and we're going to come back to you.
Yep. And so all during that time, Isaac is thinking, all right, this is good. But he's starting to wonder, hey, we've done this before. We've made sacrifices before. And he says, I see the wood. I see stuff, but where's the lamb for the offering?
Yeah. And God says, or Abraham says, God will provide for himself the lamb for the burnt offering.
Yeah. So they come up to the place, build the altar, and just before he takes the knife to slaughter his son, God halts him.
Yeah, he stops him and he says, Abraham, I know now that you believe me. And he stops the whole thing, and he actually provides a ram or a lamb in the thicket, and that is what they take and they use for the offering. So what's interesting is it says, so Abraham returned to his young men, but there's no mention of Isaac.
Where'd he go?
There is no mention of him. In fact, there is no mention, and this is what is really interesting, there's no mention of him in the rest of chapter 22. There's no mention of him in chapter 23. There's no mention of Isaac until you get to the end of chapter 24. And what is really significant is that we don't see Isaac again until he meets his bride at the end of chapter 24.
Yeah. That's I can feel that you want to go crazy on this one and talk, and we're gonna just keep this snack size. Yeah. But it does remind me we should
say a lot.
Yeah, we should do a whole thing on just this, the Akeda. So yeah. I bet you we'll probably go back and record another version of this that we can really tear this one apart.
But the upshot of the whole thing is God will provide Himself a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And he actually became the sacrifice.
Yeah, that brings the story full circle.
It's amazing.
All right, so as you go out, think about this salvation, think about how great this is, and that this is all a reminder, even from the sounding of the trumpets, that the Lord is coming back. And we can live not just in the weariness of our sin, but in the hopefulness of our salvation. Shalom.
Shalom.